Mabuhay and good morning from the Philippines. Welcome back to the 2021 virtual conference of the Southeast Asian Zoos and Aquarium Association. The 29th SEAZA conference is hosted by the Philippine Zoos and Aquarium Association in partnership with the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity and the University of the Philippines Los Baños Museum of Natural History. We would like to thank our sponsors, 101 Zoos of Israel, Haskoba of the United Kingdom, and Marine and Land Associates Limited of Hong Kong. Hello again, I'm Emmanuel Ryan de Chavez, curator from the UPLB Museum of Natural History, and I will be your host for this morning's session, for this day 4 of the conference. Now, before we begin, some house rules. Now, there are 10 presenters for this session. Each presenter is given 10 to 15 minutes for delivery. While some of the presentations are pre-recorded, we would like to remind those going live to be mindful of the time. The presenters will be introduced and guided by the session chair, following the published schedules. Please type all your questions in the chat box. We will try to accommodate them during the e-forum at the end of the session. Avoid making unnecessary actions when the video is on and unnecessary noise when the audio is allowed. Now, aside from this Zoom meeting, we are streaming live via our YouTube page, Southeast Asian Zoos and Aquarium Association. E-posters are also available at the SEAZA conference webpage, www.seaza.asia. You may view them during the breaks. Now, we begin with the scientific session 7, veterinary science and animal health, and I'll be moderating this session. Now, the first talk for this morning is entitled COVID-19 Monitoring Program in Susceptible Animals in the Zoological Park Organization of Thailand, to be delivered by Dr. Walemas Jairak, from the Bureau of Conservation and Research, Zoological Park Organization of Thailand. Dr. Jairak, you may start.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Walima Jairak. I'm a veterinary officer of Bureau of Conservation and Research, Zoological Park Organization, Thailand. Today, I would like to present in the topic of COVID-19 monitoring program in zoos in Thailand. First of all, let's update about the SARS-CoV-2 infection in zoo wildlife worldwide. I obtained this information from COVID-19 portal event in animals of OIE updated on October 2021. First report was occurred in tigers and lions on April 2020 in New York. Then, two pumas in South Africa were infected in August, or 3 months later from first case. And in December 2020, lions in Spain were reported as positive too. Even we concern much about COVID-19 infection in zoo animals by several reports in 2020. However, in this year, we still found many cases of COVID-19 infection in zoo animals, including gorilla in San Diego, tiger and lion in Sweden, lion in Estonia, puma in Argentina, otter in Georgia, lions in India, tigers in Indonesia, and tiger in South Carolina. And that's true that many cases didn't show in this picture, including fishing cat in Durong and hyena from the recently reports. This table shows number of captive and free-ranging wild animals that infect with SARS-CoV-2 in different countries worldwide report via OIE. These animals, except deer show my respiratory symptoms or my illness, but no animal were dead from SARS-CoV-2 infection, but 3 of them were put to sleep due to the other health conditions. This slide shows animal species that have evidence of SARS-CoV-2 infection. So many animal species can infect with SARS-CoV-2, and interesting that most of them are wildlife species and occur in zoo. There are several experimental studies as well. These animals are species that can infect with SARS-CoV-2 in experimental study. This animal in blue square show result of shedding the virus and can transmission to close contact animals. And in red square, these animals can develop clinical signs after virus infections. There are very interesting reports about SARS-CoV-2 infection in a wildlife species, wild deer in USA. Start before Jan 2021. There was an experimental study indicated that the white-tailed deer can infect with SARS-CoV-2 and can shedding to other deer. After that, there was a serological study show around 40% of SEAZA collected from free-ranging white-tailed deer in USA have antibody against SARS-CoV-2, and no any deer in this study show clinical signs. In addition, the scientists from Pennsylvania conducted the retrospective study by detect SARS-CoV-2 virus from retropharyngeal lymph node of white-tailed deer from April 2020 to Jan 2021. The high rate of infection with more than 80% was found during November 2020 to Jan 2021, related with the COVID-19 case in human in the same area. All of this study show high concern about the SARS-CoV-2 infection in deer and zoonosis awareness. For situation of COVID-19 in Thailand, Thailand has faced with the major outbreak of COVID-19 due to the Delta variant like other countries in Southeast Asia. We found high number of COVID-19 in human case of more than 20,000 cases per day since July 2021. However, CPOT conduct the SARS-CoV-2 surveillance program since February 2020 until present. Before we go further, I would like to share about the information. I need everyone to know more about the coronavirus. Currently, coronavirus has 4 genera: Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta. Please don't confuse with Alpha, Beta, Delta variant of SARS-CoV-2. I'm talking about the genus of coronavirus family. Okay, SARS-CoV-2 or 2019 novel coronavirus belongs to beta genus of coronavirus. But the genera that usually found in mammalians that relate with zoo animals are alpha and beta genus of coronavirus. In CPOT, we monitoring SARS-CoV-2 infection in several animal groups, including mustelids, felids, primates, viverrids, and bat. And yes, we will add deer, including in our animal list of monitoring too. We collect animal samples in all occasions of animal resting from both healthy animals and sick animals. We test coronavirus infection from 216 animals from research program, from routine health check, or from sick animals. Please note that no animal in this study were suspected case of SARS-CoV-2 infection, and we used pan-coronavirus primer to test with these animals because we want to find other coronavirus infection besides COVID-19, especially coronavirus in alpha and beta genus. The result show that all of them show negative for coronavirus RNA detection. However, I would like to present you more about the interesting result of longitudinal SARS-CoV-2 detection from domestic dogs and cats that I study in my PhD program. For dog and cats, I detect the virus from swab sample, including nasal, oral, and rectal swab with several gene detection. You can see that rectal is poor sample for SARS-CoV-2 detection, but nasal swab is the best. And in some occasion, with weak positive. Example, day 1 in dog D. If you use only one gene to detect the virus, it's possible to miss the positive result. And timing is also important. Example, in dog A, in early state of infection, the result show possible negative. But when I follow later on, the result become positive in the day later. From these three important factors, this can affect to the SARS-CoV-2 detection in wild animal from the resting limitation. So in wild animal, please do not put your own management depend on the only laboratory result. In CPOT, we focusing on prevention of SARS-CoV-2 infections. Prevention from SARS-CoV-2 virus spillover from human, including staff and tourists, to our animal. A part of direct spillover. We also concerned about indirect ways such as via animal food. A part of prevention program, monitoring program from both active and passive surveillance of SARS-CoV-2 or other coronavirus infection that I mentioned before can be help us as an early warning system for us about our animal health. For the next step of COVID-19 management in zoo wildlife is vaccination program. Even wildlife or zoo animals with SARS-CoV-2 infection develop only mild illness that concordant with the other domestic animals. However, several zoos in the U.S. start COVID-19 vaccine in their vulnerable species since March 2021. The study of animal immune response should be continued investigation, and this data will help us to make the decision or develop vaccination programs to our animals. So thank you for your attention. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jairak. We can now proceed to the next talk. Now, this is entitled Effectiveness of Modified Human Nebulizer and Operant Conditioning in the Treatment of Chronic Pneumonia in Captive Indo-Pacific Bottlenose Dolphins, Torchop Aduncus, to be presented by Dr. Johanna Tri Hastuti, from a senior veterinarian from Taman Safari, Indonesia. Dr. Hastuti, you can start.
Hello everybody, good morning. My name is Johanna Tri Hastuti. I am veterinarian from Taman Safari Indonesia, Bogor. In this moment, I want to sharing our case in dolphin with a title, Effectiveness of Modified Human Nebulizer and Operant Conditioning in the Treatment of Chronic Pneumonia in Captive Indo-Pacific Bottlenose Dolphin, Tursiop aduncus. Indo-Pacific Bottlenose Dolphin, Tursiop aduncus, is one of worldwide marine mammal with less spread in the marine of Indonesia archipelago, especially the Java Sea, and generally found over shallow coastal water on the continental shelf or around oceanic island. Conservation status of dolphin is listed by the IUCN in the red list of threatened species in 2019. A dolphin breathes through a single blowhole. On the top surface of the head, the dolphin opens its blowhole and begins to exhale just before reaching the surface of the water. And however, the dolphin lung contains a lot of more alveoli than human lung. Is the picture? Dolphin lung are made up of two layers of capillary, and this arrangement increases the efficiency of gas exchange. With the specific respiratory mechanism, the incidence of getting bronchopneumonia is highly increased because of rapid and deep breathing. That's why pneumonia is considered the most common disease in both wild and captive bottlenose dolphin. And the cause of pneumonia in the dolphin is mostly due to bacterial than due to fungal. A male captive Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin, Tursiop aduncus, approximately 9 years old, name of Panca at Batang Dolphin Center, Taman Safari Indonesia, Batang, had been diagnosed chronic pneumonia. In early December 2019, Panca had been observed and saw an increased respiratory rate, causing smelly discharge, bronchus mucus, and wheezing. Diagnostic laboratory such as blood work, cytological examination, and culture sample of blowhole were performed. Blood work revealed the presence of an inflammatory reaction. Cytological examination of blowhole sample by gram stain showed the presence of gram-negative coccus bacteria as well as white blood cell. And blowhole sample revealed an infection with a mixture of bacteria. In this picture indicated by the arrow that gram-negative bacteria are pink in color by gram stain cytology. This training is carried out to obtain sample from the lung for laboratory diagnosis for cytological examination and culture. Blowhole sampling training for dolphin is a routine activity as part of husbandry care in our institution. This training is carried out every day and have a number of steps. In this picture, shown that achievement of every stage was recorded and provide a checklist on the date it was achieved. And this important point of this training was selective breaths and capture of strong exhalation. Cetacean usually initiate expiration prior to the blowhole breaking the surface. The explosive nature of the expiration creates the small droplet at the area around the blowhole. In this video show a link signal for exhalation using head tap near blowhole. And glass plate was used to capture droplet when the dolphin expiration. On 15 December 2019, the dolphin was initially treated for what believed to be infected a bacterial pneumonia with an antibiotic ciprofloxacin 25 mg per kilo twice a day for 14 days and bromhexine hydrochloride 16 mg twice a day for 14 days as a mucolytic. After a month treatment, the inflammation decreased and no clinical sign was furthermore. However, in last February 2020, respiratory causing and smelly discharge were again observed and the animal was treated with antibiotic clindamycin and mucolytic. Antibiotic treatment in this state was given based on the bacteria drug sensitive test. Nevertheless, the clinical sign continued of persistent coughs and discharge. According to Wensler, A. and et al. At Clinical Microbiology Review, state that systemically administered antibiotic used to treat this infection often have poor penetration into the lung parenchyma and narrow between efficacy and toxicity. Therefore, to optimize the delivery of appropriate concentration of pharmacokinetic drug at the target site, a nebulizer was used to administer the necessary antibiotic. The human nebulizer also require modification to account for the dolphin lung with a much larger amount of air sac as compared to human lung. And as we know that the bottlenose dolphin completed an exhalation and inhalation cycle in approximately a third of a second. With a tidal volume of 10 liters, flow rate through the air sac can be as high as 70 liters per second. The modification human nebulizer can be seen in this picture. Inhaled antibiotic from the nebulizer is connected to the gallon and then channeled using a hose to be inhaled by dolphin. Gallon serves as a reservoir chamber oxygen, a capacity of 10 liters, which has the same capacity in the tidal volume of the lung dolphin. Because of nebulizing treatment need a long time, if every nebulizing the dolphin might be caught, it would be very stressed for dolphin and it would be a very challenging. So it was necessary to facilitate an effective and safe treatment. To facilitate such treatment effectively, a dolphin must be trained to accept nebulization voluntarily. In this picture, Fat was explained the working system of the modified nebulizer before starting training. And in this video, the dolphin still in the state stabilizing the dolphin position and to get rhythmic normal breathing. The dolphin was trained and conditioned to achieve all procedure need for almost 1.5 months. The important point of the training was selective breaths to capture normal respiration. Most of the time, the blowhole above the surface is used for inspiration. So when dolphin inspiration used to inhale an antibiotic. The dose of inhaled antibiotic, ceftriaxone in 1 gram in 5 ml normal saline fluid performed twice a day. Duration of treatment took 3 until 5 periods per series. This nebulizing treatment took time for almost 2 months. The dolphin no longer show clinical sign of pneumonia, and blood tests indicate the absence of any inflammation. In this recording, data show that he had never been any clinical symptom of respiratory disorder furthermore. In this video of nebulizing treatment show that the dolphin inhaled antibiotic when he was breathing. By in this presentation, it can be concluded treatment and antibiotic delivered by modified human nebulizer and operant conditioning for chronic pneumonia in captive Indo-Pacific bottlenose dolphin was ineffective and safe than systemically antibiotic. This presentation referring to references below, and special thanks to the name below to everybody that I can mention one by one. And I would like to thank very much indeed to my director, DRS Jansen Manansang, Mr. Fran Manansang, Mr. Tony Sumampo for their outstanding support make this presentation. Taman Safari Indonesia doing all we can to reverse the rat. Thank you for your listening.
Again, thank you, Dr. Hastuti, for that presentation. Now we can proceed now to the next. The next talk is entitled Bottlenose Dolphin, Torshops Aduncus Postpartum Treatment at Taman Safari Indonesia 2, Prigen, Pasuruan, East Java, to be presented by Dr. Hanifa Agus Setiawan from Taman Safari Indonesia. Dr. Setiawan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. My name is Hanifa Agustiawan. I'm veterinary from Taman Safari Indonesia Prigen Pasuruan. In this occasion, I will share about my presentation with the title Bottlenose Dolphin Torshops Aduncus Postpartum Treatment. And the first, Dolphinia last met with a sour smell in November 2020. Documentation start on 12 November 2020. Ultrasound examination was carried out with training and conditioning in the pool. Nia's temperament during the ultrasound examination at the beginning of pregnancy was calm, but increased toward birth. Food preference and body mass. The food during Nia's pregnancy is sardinella, mackerel, and squid. The majority of feeding takes place in the morning, noon, afternoon, and extra food for training and conditioning. Health check, for example, is body weight, blood collection, and ultrasonography every once in a month. Nia's weight was increased every month since pregnant and raised 116 kilograms 1 month before giving birth. And then the supplement and vitamin during pregnancy. During birth. 3 days before birth, she saw the new behavior. Sometimes swim vertical with head in the bottom and aggressive. 2 days before birth, decreased appetite and anxious. And day before birth, she produced the meal. CCTV4 monitoring has been installed 1 month before giving birth. Dolphinia giving birth on 16 October 2020 In this video, you can see a new behavior from Nias. The mom always active and accompany the baby on the boat side, protected the baby when learning for a swim and avoid hit the wall. And the second day, after giving birth, Nia stopped eating. So we try to give her many kind of fish, but she is ignored. Also, she is ignored the trainer. We are so worried this condition because she can dehydration. So we need immediately to rehydrate because Nia's got anorexia but still active, and the possibility deficiency of milk production for the baby dolphin, so that the risk of baby being malnutrition can occur. Then plain. To fix the problem, we must catch the mom and calf. So we need the proper plan and briefing our staff for catch them. The purpose catch. The first is force feed for mother. Number two, give balanced rehydration. Number three, supplement and vitamin for the mother. And then health assessment for mother and calf. Catching. We use the net to catch the baby and the mother. After that, we hold the baby with towel to reduce the trauma, and then put the baby beside the mother. It means the mother can see the baby. Next, measurement. Measurement while we hold the baby and we got the data. Data retracted, calf weight 14 kilograms and mother weight 104 kilograms. Body length from the baby dolphin is 105 centimeter. Dorsal fin 13 centimeter and the rostrum 6 centimeter. Then force feed. We put the mother on the mattress to reduce the trauma. Need for people to hold her. To open mouth, we use the soft towel put in the mouth. After she take a breath, slowly insert the tube into stomach. To make sure the host has reached to stomach, we listen the sound from the host. We can recognize sound of stomachs and the lungs. After confirm that the host has reached the stomachs, we put 1 liter of fish juice and 1.5 liter of mineral water. We didn't forget to give some medicine, antibiotic amoxiclav 1.6 gram, tramadol 50 milligram as a painkiller and increase food appetite, and omeprazole 20 milligram from gastroprotectant. Next, frequency meat consumption. We can see the graphic and the table. Observation, the frequency their breed and frequency the calf consume milk are monitored by CCTV. The calf drink milk every 1 hour with duration 10 until 15 seconds. And then you can see breathing frequency, comparison mother and calf breath. Comparison of the frequency of breathing between the mother and the dolphin baby a similar days. Observation of breathing until 3 months. And the last, the conclusion of this preparation are observation during pregnancy is very important. And preparation day of birth include water quality, separation male and female. Make a plan for worst situation. For example, make pressure, force feed, equipment, and medication. And then observation mother and calf. For example, recording data, CCTV, and the last data analysis. Doing all we can to reverse the rate. Thank you your attention. If you have any question, you can email me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Setyawan, for your presentation. Now, again, let me remind everyone that the conference is streaming via our YouTube page, Southeast Asian Zoos and Aquarium Association. E-posters are available at the 2021 SEAZA conference webpage in the website seaza.asia, and you can view them during the break. Now, we can proceed now to the next talk. Now, the title is Successful Hand Rearing of Abandoned Giraffe, Giraffa camelopardalis at Taman Safari Indonesia, Prigen, to be presented by Dr. Eddie Sutuno, also from Taman Safari Indonesia. Dr. Sutuno, you can start.
Hello, good afternoon all. Thanks for the occasion for me. At the moment, let me introduce myself. My name is Eddie Sutono. I am senior keeper of African animals, especially for giraffe, Taman Safari Brigade. In this time, I would like to present our research. The title is Successfully Handling Baby Giraffe, Giraffa camelopardalis. We know that the giraffe population in the wild have been decreasing due to habitat degradation and poaching. Therefore, the role of conservation in captivity and saving this animal is very important to prevent it from becoming extinct. So, what is the solution? The key is breeding. Do you know how to the giraffe giving birth? Female giraffe give birth with standing up. Their young endure a rather rude welcome into the world by falling more than 5 feet or 5.5 meters to the ground at birth. This infant or calf can stand in half an hour and run with their mothers an incredible 10 hours after birth. But what happens if their mother rejected or neglected the baby and don't want to give the milk? It's a big problem. On 2nd January 2021, we have one female giraffe. Her name is Zahara that gave birth for the first time. And we have the big problem with this. After our team observation about 6 hours, nothing response from mother to give the first milk and showing the behavior that she rejected the baby. The physical condition of the baby is normal and healthy. Female baby with weight of 33 kilograms. After about 6 hours, the condition of the baby did not get a good response by the mother and was kicked several times. So we were decided to handling the baby for the initial feed. We gave 330 milliliters of fresh coarse milk Friesian Holstein using a bottle and nipple with a length of 10 centimeter and a diameter of 3 centimeter. Initial feed adaptation only consumed 300 until 1,500 milliliters per day for the first week. After that, the baby breastfeeds smoothly without any cushion and gradually increase the volume. For the age of 1 until 3 weeks, the total volume of milk given is 1,000 milliliter until 2,500 milliliter per day. Increase in daily milk volume of 1,000 until 1,500 milliliter every 3 weeks, with a maximum volume of 6,500 milliliters per day. This video shows our keeper and vet give the first milk or colostrum. Initial feed adaptation only consume 300 until 1,500 milliliter per day for the first week. After that, the baby breastfeeds smoothly without any coercion and gradually increase the volume. This video shows our keeper give the milk at exhibit after 4 months. Increase in dynamic volume of 1,000 until 1,500 milliliter every 3 weeks, with a maximum volume of 6,000 milliliter per day. The interval of giving milk was 6 times a day in the first month and reduced to 4 times a day after that, and reduced the frequency of giving until weaning. This graphic shows how many we give the milk during the handling period. From this chart, we can know about how much milk consumption by the baby. We can see in 3 till 5 months old, the baby consumes the highest amount of milk. It's about 6 liters. And then consumption of milk decreasing until weaning. During the hand rearing, we give activated carbon or NORID when the consistency of liquid stool is monitored in first week. Enema treatment with warm water when defecation is not observed in third week. Vitamin APALIS routine every day starting at 1 month old. From these activities that we do, it can be concluded that the handling process that we carried out was successful. The calves were safe and did not interfere with the growth and development of the giraffe. Reverse the red. We hope we can reserve the red list into the green list. Let's save our precious wildlife. Thank you. Thanks for your attention. If you have any question, you can contact me by the mail.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sutuno. Now, before we proceed, let me remind again for the participants to type in your questions in the chat box, and we will try to accommodate them during the e-forum at the end of the session. Now, proceeding to our conference. So the next talk is entitled Balancing Environmental Enrichment and Health Management by Cooperative Husbandry Training for Eurasian Otter, to be presented by Ms. Chiho Nakamura from Aquamarine Fukushima Marine Science Museum, Fukushima Prefecture, Japan. Ms. Nakamura, you can start.
Hello everyone, I'm Chiho Nakamura. I'm very happy to speak to you today. So let me start. This is my aquarium, Aquamarine Fukushima. It is located at Fukushima Prefecture in Japan. Our aquarium is environmental aquarium, which means we exhibit not only fish or animals, but also the natural environment around the species. And we are aquarium, but we also keep several mammal species, and I'm in charge of their keeping. We try to recreate natural environment exhibition of these animals. So today's topic is Eurasian otter. We have breeding ground between SEAZA and SEAZA and make efforts to keep the captive population. The Eurasian otter is subspecies of Japanese otter, which became extinct in 2012. Therefore, I think Japanese zoos and aquariums should educate this fact by working on exhibit not only by their cuteness. We have kept Eurasian otter from 2010 and in 2015, we made new enclosure for them. This is a comparison of old and new enclosure. In old enclosure, we tried to keep vegetative environment and freshwater fish with otter, but we couldn't. But in new enclosure, we used some new method for setting the plants and water weight to prevent it from otter's prey. In the result, now we can keep the land grasses, waterweed, and live fish with otter. Today, I present two topics. First topic is the natural breeding and nesting behaviors which we have never seen in old facility. These new behaviors were observed in wild habitats too, so it may suggest that they were induced by this new enclosure. And second topic is cooperative care for otter. In general, it says that control the animal by cooperative care is difficult under the cohabitation with live fish, but the husbandry training is possible and necessary under the natural environment. So I'm talking about the first topic, breeding and nursing behavior of female. Our aquarium succeeded for breeding nearly every year. Normally, keepers move pregnancy female into backyard to separate from other individuals. But in our aquarium, we do not force the mother to move and let her decide where to give birth, whether in exhibition area or in backyard. As a result, the mother chose the exhibition area. Therefore, keepers and visitors could observe the newborn babies, and also we could see breastfeeding and many other precious behaviors. In addition, we observed new nursing behaviors which we have never seen in old facility. These are the monitoring camera for observation and record. I use differently two types by location of nest. We fit these cameras into the 6 nests in exhibition enclosure. The definition of the nest is the place where female used for sleep or rest, and the place where the female bring the nesting materials. So I start to talk about the result. I used these reports for comparing behaviors in this enclosure to the wild. Behavior 1 is nesting behavior. In old enclosure, nesting behavior was confirmed in only one nest. But in new enclosure, nesting behavior were confirmed in 6 nests. From 7 days before the birth, the mother started to change the nest almost every day. And in wild, mother makes several nests in her territory for the birth. Behavior 2 is selection of the nest for birth. In old enclosure, birth took place at where the mother usually used, and in new enclosure, birth took place at where the mother did not usually use. The nest was more closed than other nests. And in wild, mother do not use a normal nest for birth and select more closed nest. Behavior 3 is defecate place. In usual, Eurasian otter defecate on land in this way. In old enclosure, after the birth, mother defecated on land and in water. In new enclosure, before and after the birth, the mother defecated only in water. And in wild, it seemed as in new enclosure. Behavior 4 is changing the nest. In old enclosure, no change the nest in layering period. But in new enclosure, 2 days after the birth, mother started to change the nest with her pups. and continued to change the nest periodically until the pups could swim. And in wild, in layering period, mother periodically changed the nest with her pups. So in this way, mother was taking pups with her mouth and moving to other nests even into the water. In conclusion, those whole behaviors confirmed in the new enclosure were also seen in the wild, so it may suggest that they were induced by diverse environment of this new enclosure. Next, I start to talking about the health management for otter. In general, it's said that control the animal by cooperative care is difficult under the cohabitation with live fish. But we tried it and keep otter be healthy in our enclosure. First, we train the otter with target and whistle. They can stop and pause on the target until the whistle sign. And otters can move on the weight measurement scale with target. So we can check their body weight once a week and control their food amount. We also can touch their whole body. It is very important because we know something different immediately by touching their body. And we also check their heart tone and heart rate by auscultation. Furthermore, we can measure the rectal temperature too. Touch the target and pause. Keeper release the hand from target, but otter continue pausing. Then keeper bring up otter's tail and put the thermometer into their anus. And now we shaping the blood sampling. Touch the target and pause and keeper bring up otter's tail. Now veterinarians sting the toothpick, but after some time we will try to use the needle. So what is the important point for the training? The first point is start training from young age. The individuals which we started to train from 6 months old, they learned very speedy and smoothly. But the individuals which we started to train at older than 2 years, it was taken long period. And second point is make good environment for live fish. The environment for keeping live fish is really important. We make their hiding space and feed them 3 times a day. Fish's condition is related to hunting successful rate of otter. Selecting the species is important too. We have tested for selecting the species of fish in 2014 in old enclosure. We put these 6 species to otter's tank and checked the survival rate. As a result, Ayu and Ugui had high survival rate. These 2 species swim very quickly, so we put it into the tank. And the size of fish is also important. It is a feeding amount comparison with different fish size in the tank. When large-sized fish were in the tank, showing with the red line, otters were always full, so they did not eat much food prepared by keeper. But when small-sized fish were in the tank, showing with the yellow line, their amount of feeding food was stable, so we could control their behavior with feeding. Now, the otter tried to catch the fish, but fish can run away. And these waterweed provide hiding space for fish. Now, we only add fish to the tank about 2 times a year, and also fish succeed to breeding in this tank. But sometimes they succeed to catch. It is not so great for me, but at that time, visitors can observe their natural feeding behaviors. Conclusion. The effect of natural environmental enclosure is able to induce the natural behaviors which the animal have essentially. And husbandry training is necessary when we keep animals in natural environmental enclosure. The important point is start training early and keep the live fish be healthy. Finally, the most important thing is that we and the aquariums have to educate visitors with not only information but also exhibit the real animals more actively and naturally, because image from exhibition is always very strong. We should spread the word what kind of environment animals needed with exhibition. It will be good enrichment for animals too. So I'm closing my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ms. Nakamura. We can now proceed to the next talk, entitled Hypocalcemia in Parasing Hapon, to be presented by Dr. Yanyong Werawatakul, a veterinarian from the Konkain Zoo. Dr. Werawatakul, you can start.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yanyong Weerawattanatakul from Konkan Zoo, Thailand. I'm a veterinarian, and today I will present my case report, hypocalcemia in Barasing Farm. Where is Konkan Zoo? Konkan Zoo is in the Khao Sun Kwang district, Konkan province, in the northeast of Thailand. It's about 50 kilometers from Konkan City and about 75 kilometers from Udon Thani. And Konkan Zoo is one of the zoological park organizations under the royal patronage of His Majesty the King. The topic we will present today have 9 topics. 1. What is hypocalcemia? 2. What is Barasing? 3. History taking. 4. Physical examination. 5. Differential diagnosis. 6. Laboratory examination. 7. Tentative diagnosis and treatment plan. 8. Treatment result. And 9. Discussion. Calcium. What is calcium? Calcium is a very important mineral to our body to build bone and teeth and the normal function of heart and muscle, and is about blood clot, nerve signal, and hormone. If we don't get enough calcium, we will call this symptom the hypocalcemia. That is have the malfunction to heart muscle, bone, and teeth, and about blood clot. That is so that calcium is very important for us. What is Barasing? Barasing is in the kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, family Cervidae, and species Rousseau's duvalcii, and the conservation status is in vulnerable in IUCN. The distribution and habitat of Barasing. Barasing, naturally, they live in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. And in this case, the Barasing found named Happy, the baby Barasing. The history taking, client complaint from the keeper. The keeper report to veterinarian they have the depressed anorexia and unable to stand. And in the timeline, in the 1st May in 2019, this Barasing born in Konkan Zoo in the exhibit zone, and the 26th August in 2019, Barasing mother has died at the age 4 months old, and the 23rd September In 2019, the veterinarian get report from the keeper and bring back this baby barasing to treat in wild animal hospital. Physical examination. First, we noticed that this barasing have left hind limb abscess and noticed that with cardiac arrhythmia and high heart rate, and the respiratory rate and lung sound is normal. Temperature. This case have the hyperthermia with 102 Fahrenheit. Mental status get depressed and appetite get anorexia with 8% dehydration. So we differential diagnosis. First, hind limb lameness. Maybe the baby barasing get lameness and unable to stand. Second, metabolic bone disease. This case maybe is of the congenital anomaly. And third, hypocalcemia. Maybe it's because the mother barasing has died and this baby don't get enough milk, so that low calcium level cause hypocalcemia. And fourth, malnutrition. Maybe don't get enough food and become ill and malnutrition. And another differential diagnosis is a bacterial infection and viral infection. So we have to get the laboratory examination to the tentative diagnosis. The first laboratory examination is in September 23rd. We noticed that this barasing have the anemia with the macrocytic hypochromic anemia. So our scientists do the laboratory examination and we interpretation in this case with the macrocytic hypochromic anemia. So we have to treat with vitamin B12 and folic acid and another mineral supplement and fluid therapy as soon as possible. And the white blood cell, we noticed that this white blood cell abnormal have the lymphocytosis with monocytosis. And the blood chemistry, in this case, the barasing get low AST, low ALT, and low BUN and creatinine. And we have already noticed that the calcium exactly low, and the phosphorus is high. Is that called is a calcium imbalance with hypocalcemia with hyperphosphatemia. So our tentative diagnosis in this case, we found that the hypocalcemia. First, we see in the laboratory exam have the low blood calcium level. Second, have cardiac arrhythmia. Third, muscular dystrophy. And fourth, the baby unable to stand. The treatment plan, we have to get the antibiotic as soon as possible to prevent the septicemia and give the anti-inflammatory drug, get the milk and calcium with ferrous ion and another mineral with vitamin B complex and folic acid to give the blood in normal level, and we get the physical therapy for this baby. In this picture, we see that the baby get the wheelchair with the towel to help him to stand, walk, and run. And we see this video, we get the towel to help him stand, walk, and run.
เลี้ยวอยากไปทางนี้แน่เลย
And the second laboratory examination in October 1st, we still found that this case still have microcytic normochromic anemia. So it means that in the baby has iron deficiency, so we have to get the ferrous ion as soon as possible. And the scientists check the second laboratory examination. And the white blood cell, we still found lymphocytosis and monocytosis. So we have to get the antibiotic again. And blood chemistry, still low ALT, low BUN and creatinine. And the blood, and another that we found that still the calcium imbalance with hypocalcemia with and hyperphosphatemia. And in this video, the Barasin get better in physical therapy and can stand, walk and run.
Hello, 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 hello.เร็วเร็วเร็วเร็วเร็วขึ้นไปเลยวิ่งโอ้ยสุดยอดวิ่งได้ด้วยโอเคพัก
And another video, he can walk and run by himself.
มาเร็วมาเร็วมาเร็วแฮปปี้มานี่เร็วมา
And the third laboratory examination in May 9 in 2020, we found that all of the blood profile already became normal and the animal became normal again. The muscular function become normal, white blood cells still has become normal. Blood chemistry, all of blood profile become normal and the calcium and phosphorus level become balanced in normal level. So the treatment result, we can release this Barasin found to the exhibit zone at the age 1 years. Discussion, hypocalcemia. Most of this case we found in the mother animal die and we have to bring the animal back to the hospital as soon as possible to get the nursery, get the feeding and minerals. And if we found in this case with the muscular function failure, we have to get the physical therapy to bring back them to the normal function. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Werawatoku, for that presentation. So at this point, we will now proceed to the next. The next talk is entitled Rumen Transfaunation in a Bactrian Camel, Camelus bactrianus, to be presented by Dr. Mary Clarence Tupas. She is a veterinarian from the Cebu Safari and Adventure Park. Dr. Tupas, you will now proceed.
Good day to all. My name is Dr. Mary Clarence Tupas. I am a resident veterinarian at Cebu Safari and Adventure Park here in the Philippines, and I am here to report rumen transvenation as a method of treatment for ruminal atony or ruminal stasis in one of our Bactrian camels. As a quick introduction, the digestive tract of camels is equipped with a foregut fermentation system and a 3-compartment stomach, namely C1, C2, and C3. C1 is still equivalent to the rumen, C2 is the reticulum, and C3 is the omasum plus abomasum without the demarcation in between. Physiological properties of their digestive tract are still similar with our other domestic and exotic ruminants. Slight changes in ruminal balance, like an increase or a decrease in the ruminal pH, can lead to indigestion, hypomotility, or atony. As for a short background of our patient, the case or the diagnosis was ruminal atony or ruminal stasis. She is a Bactrian camel. Her name is Tula. Her age at the time of the procedure was 2 years back in November 2019. So her current age is 4 years old. Her diet is napier grass and horse feeds given twice a day with mineral blocks as supplements. Possible causes of ruminal atony are mainly nutritional or dietary. So first could be sudden changes in the diet. Second, it could be overfeeding or a sudden urge of the animal to eat excessive amounts of feeds or grass. Third, it could be poor quality of feeds or grass. And lastly, it could also be poor animal husbandry or human error. So for our case and our Bactrian camel, it was a sudden change in the diet because she was transferred to a new exhibit which had paragrass, which was readily available for her to graze on, but her original diet composed of napier grass. So that was when she started to show some gastrointestinal disturbances. The clinical signs of ruminal atony or ruminal stasis include inappetence, anorexia, decreased rumination, loss of body condition, depression, and diarrhea. Absence of food for 3 to 5 days can cause the death of bacteria and protozoa in the first and second stomach compartments of camels. But luckily for our case, we treated her 2 days after the onset of clinical signs. The following are the actual clinical signs of our Bactrian camel. On the first day, our zookeepers reported that Tula had no appetite for feeds nor grass, but it wasn't alarming yet because she was not lethargic, so she was just under observation. On the second day, it was still inappetence. She was still not lethargic, but the clinical sign that stood out to us was the absence of rumination. We didn't observe her to be ruminating. So it was the main basis for our diagnosis of ruminal stasis or ruminal atony. The following are the materials we used for rumen transformation. First, we have the rumen contents of a healthy adult sheep. Next, we have warm distilled water with a temperature of about 38 to 38.5 degrees Celsius. Then we used large Ziploc bags, large plastic bottles or containers, cheesecloth, examination gloves, xylazine as the sedative, a 3 ml syringe, a mouth gag, and an orogastric tube. As for our methodology, first, a healthy adult sheep was slaughtered and its rumen contents were placed inside sealed plastic bags or containers mixed with equal amounts of warm distilled water. Sealed rumen contents must be placed within a warm water bath to imitate the temperature inside an animal's rumen and to prevent spoilage. Second, the mixture was strained through cheesecloth into another container. This part of the procedure must be done quickly because exposure to too much oxygen will break down the rumen microbes due to their anaerobic nature. Third, the mixture was strained continuously until about 8 liters of rumen fluid was obtained. 8 to 16 liters is the requirement for large ruminants for transfonation. The rumen fluid must not be foamy or frothy. The color of normal rumen fluid varies between olive to yellowish brown depending on the diet. Next, upon arrival at the holding facility, the camel was injected with zero point 0.1 milligrams of xylazine intravenously. Once sedated, a mouth gag was placed and an orogastric tube was inserted. To ensure that the orogastric tube was inside the rumen, we checked through auscultation and by smelling the fumes emitted by the tube. Lastly, rumen fluid was given through the tube at a gradual pace. After the procedure, we gave additional medications like 25 ml of B-complex IM as an appetite stimulant. We gave 2 ml of Intrafer 200 for iron as prevention for anemia. And we also gave 25 ml of Butasal or Butaphosphan as a metabolic stimulant. 10 minutes after the rumen transfonation, the camel was seen slowly eating napier grass. Then we had her monitored for the rest of the day. So at 8 p.m. the same day, she ate more grass as reported by the zookeeper. Then the next day, the camel had a better appetite, was more active, and showed signs of rumination. After 1 week with constant monitoring of her behavior and her diet, the amount of feeds and the amount of grass that she ate, and through physical examination, the camel appeared normal. In conclusion, rumen transfonation reestablishes the appropriate gastric microflora in the foregut. This procedure successfully treated this camel and can possibly be done in similar cases in other exotic animals with foregut fermentation systems. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our case. Have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. Tupas, for that presentation. Now, the next talk is entitled Husbandry and Veterinary Challenges of the Critically Endangered Rufous-Headed Hornbill, Rhabdotorhinus waldeni at Tarlac Foundation Incorporated, to be presented by Dr. Monica Marie Atienza. She's a veterinarian from that foundation. Dr. Atienza, you can proceed.
Good day to everyone. I'm Monica Marie Atienza, President Veterinarian of Tarlac Foundation here in Negros Island, Philippines. Today, I'm going to present the husbandry and veterinary challenges of the critically endangered rufous-headed hornbill. So the Rhabdotorhinus waldeni is commonly known as the Walden's hornbill and is locally called dulungan or Tarlac. These species are endemic to just 3 islands in the West Visayas of the Philippines. These are Panay, which is the large blue island, Negros, which is the maroon island, and Guimaras, the small blue island between Negros and Panay. Unfortunately, the Walden's is deemed extinct in Guimaras and is said to be functionally extinct here in Negros. Functionally extinct, meaning the existing population might not play a functional role in the ecosystem anymore. And it has been 30 years since the last sighting of a Walden's here in Negros. And it's because of these constant threats like deforestation, illegal logging, hunting, and poaching. Unfortunately, there's only 4% remaining forest cover in the whole of the island, putting huge amount of pressure on the remaining endemic species. Now, the last forest cover is declared protected areas. The North Negros Natural Park, Canlaon National Park, and the Balinsasayao Twin Lakes Natural Park. Despite, being protected areas, enforcement is still a problem, making these forests still vulnerable to poaching and illegal logging. Because of these constant pressure and threats, there's a call for action, which is why NGOs like TFI with Negros Forest and Ecological Foundation have been working not just for the preservation of the species, we also do reforestation projects and community education. One of our success stories is the reforestation project on parts of the denuded forests of North Negros National Park. As you can see on the left side is our Negros Forest Park curator, Mr. Davoy Castor. They started this reforestation project in 1986, and you can see it on the right side is its current healthy state. But, due to COVID, our education projects were halted. One of our activities before was the Junior Conservationist Workshop. So we go to schools or communities in rural areas to teach about biodiversity and conservation. In our breeding center, Negros Forest Park, we also have had educational school or group field trips. But recent activities are house to house and community meetings around the areas of our animal release site, which is the Bayawan Nature Reserve. For our conservation breeding centers, the Talarak Foundation has currently 2 breeding centers. We have the Negros Forest Park and Kabangkalan Station at Kabangkalan City. It has only been 10 years since we have had our rufous-headed hornbills in TFI's care. It was just 2011 since Mariit Wildlife Park loaned us a few individuals of wildens, around 1 to 2 years old at the time. So since then, they were housed in pairs. It was 8 years later when we had successful hatch in Negros Forest Park. Then in 2020, a first also in Kabangkalan. This time, there were 2 hatchings, while this year, 2021, both Negros Forest Park and Kabangkalan had their success, wherein both centers had 2 hatchlings each. Currently, these are our numbers. We have a total of 7 pairs, 5 in Kabangkalan and 2 in Negros Forest Park. Each breeding center has 1 proven pair, but both centers produce a total of 6 fledglings, 3 for each center, bringing our total population to 19 individuals. As I said before, we have had the Waldens for only 10 years now, but the shift in husbandry and management in mid-2017 and the addition of veterinary care in late 2019 really made an impact, not just in our rufous-headed hornbills, but also on all of our animals in the center. Major changes were made for Walden's diet and nutrition, enclosure and environmental condition, and lastly, which is the veterinary care. So the previous diet of our Waldens before, during non-breeding season, are predominantly soft dog food, sometimes with fruits, and sometimes just dog food. It was then replaced with low iron pellets, but the majority component of their diet now is fruits such as bananas, papayas, sometimes with seasonal fruits like avocado, mango, jackfruit, and bignai berries. Before animal protein was scarce, basically it was non-existent in their diets. Now we have our own production and stable stock of crickets, mealworms, and pinkies, so we have no problems during breeding season. Supplements were also introduced, such as probiotics and multivitamins. There were repairs of previous enclosure, and it was to ensure that it will be pest free. There is also yearly maintenance that was imposed and additional purchase of varying heights were placed, as well as vegetation with growing trees, shrubs, and plants. Our nests before were made out of wood scraps. Now we have nests made out of solid wood with natural dimensions. As for the veterinary care, it was only the last quarter of 2019 when I came into the picture. The centers didn't have a veterinarian for the past 10 years. So previous mortalities or cases were not documented properly. Now, there will be assurance on immediate care. There are now protocols for deworming and animal exams. Aspergillosis and candida were some of the cases that were previously treated. There is also, an emphasis in providing enrichment such as the following. The fork branches to enhance field hygiene, purchase of varying heights to enhance flight, vegetation and substrate, foraging boxes, hanging whole fruits to enhance the foraging behaviors of the Waldens. But despite this new success, we also suffered recent mortalities. Our two pairs had two fledglings each in 2020 and 2021, respectively. In 2020, one of the 6-month-old Wade Waldens had a caudal left leg puncture wound. It was too late for us to treat since the wound was not visible and covered with feathers. There were no protruding or sharp objects inside the enclosure, and it was suspected that it was inflicted by the sibling. It expired due to sepsis. Our latest case of this year was a 3-month-old newly fledged Waldens. This particular juvenile was the first to have fledged out. It learned how to fly up within the day, but 3 days after, it was suddenly on the ground and can't balance. We've given antibiotics and anti-inflammatories. She came back normal, but no improvement was seen. And on its 6th day of treatment, it started to have seizures and expired within the day. Upon necropsy, the entire brain has diffused yellowish raised lesions, and it was suspected to have gotten bacterial meningitis. Our learnings from these past cases, of course, eventually we will experience a slump. But this is where we evaluate our protocols and practices so we can further improve our management. To address these problems, we develop further tools for our enrichment to cater to our juveniles. We have had problems before that some of our violent juveniles tend to injure their parents unintentionally. We've also developed disinfection schemes for the nests, pre and post breeding. You may also note that most of our cases were suspected since our veterinary diagnostic capacity is really lacking, especially for our avian species. This diagnostic scarcity is not just in our institution, but also in the whole of island of Negros, sadly. To finalize, our success for the past 3 years gave us hope to secure our captive population of the rufous-headed hornbills, since we are one of the 2 conservation breeding institutions in the world that breed this critically endangered hornbills. We want to share our success and failures, husbandry and management, since we believe that these practices will shape the future conservation of these species. That is all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Atienza, for that talk. Now we will proceed to the next presentation. This is entitled Successful Fluid Therapy of Green Sea Turtle Chelonia midas during pre-release rehabilitation at Bali Safari and Marine Park, to be presented by Dr. Sairial Cornea Bimantaka from the Bali Safari and Marine Park. Dr. Bimantaka, you can start. Okay, it seems that we are having some technical problems, but as we wait for the Secretariat to fix the issue, let me remind everyone to type in your questions for the different speakers for this morning, and we will cater to them after all the presentations in our open forum. So I guess the presentation is already okay. So we can hear Dr. Bimantaka.
Okay. Okay, good morning to all participants of the 29th annual and second virtual SEAZA conference 20 and 21. Before I started the presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Syahrial Kurnia Bimantaka. I am a veterinarian at Bali Safari and Marine Park, a group of Taman Safari Indonesia. In this presentation, I would like to share a case report of successful fluid therapy of green sea turtle Chelonia midas during pre-release rehabilitation at Bali Safari and Marine Park. In this presentation is including the introduction, case history, treatment, and examination. First, we're talking about the sea turtle. Globally, 7 species of sea turtles inhabit a diversity of ecological niches in nearly all oceans, and 6 species of sea turtle are found in Indonesia. First, there is green sea turtle, then hawksbill sea turtle, loggerhead turtle, the olive ridley turtle, the flatback turtle, and the 6th is leatherback turtle. The 6 of sea turtle can be found in Indonesia, and the 7 is the Cam Ridley turtle. Next, we talk about the green sea turtle. Seloniamidas is the most well-known sea turtle in the world. It's now listed as endangered by the IUCN. Fluid therapy, many of the reptiles that represent for the emergency care are chronically dehydrated. This kind patient require fluid therapy. The goal of fluid therapy is to restore normal tissue perfusion and cellular fluid or electrolyte balance. The fluid can be administered first per os, secondly via orogastric intubation, third subcutaneously, fourth intracellularly, fifth intravenously, and sixth intraosseously. Next, we talk about the case history. 40-kilogram green sea turtle was sent to Bali Safari and Marine Park facility with symptoms no appetite, lethargic, and slow swimming. A general physical examination procedure showed no significant abnormality. There's no fracture, no ulcer, only you can see the turtle is very lethargic. So, besides that, we decided to giving a fluid therapy with a mixed solution of sodium chloride 0.9%, Ringer's lactated solution, dextrose 5%, and aquabides with ratio sodium chloride 0.9% and aquabides 1:1, and Ringer lactated solution and aquabides also 1:1. This kind of the fluid we use. The final fluid solution is sodium chloride 0.45%, half strength Ringer lactated solution, and dextrose 5%. The final mixed fluid solution was delivered intracellularly using 10 milliliter per kilogram per day dose. The fluid solution given daily for 7 consecutive days and continue with once a week. The green sea turtle also received antibiotic treatment, ceftazidime, 20 milligram per kilogram intramuscularly, every 72 hours for 7 times in the beginning of rehabilitation. In this picture, we can see the injection of the antibiotic to the green sea turtle. Next, we also do examination every 2 months. Data on body weight and measurement is collected to see if there is any improvement during giving fluid therapy. We recorded the curved carapace length, curved carapace width, body weight. Also, we record the straight carapace length and straight carapace width. In this table is the data collected of body weight and measurement. We can see all parameters is slightly increased from the beginning of treatment until the December. For example, the body weight on the April is 40 kilogram, on December is increasing to 43 kilogram. We also record the daily food consumption. Some kind of food we give into the green sea turtle is mostly seagrass with ratio 80%, and combination of the mackerel, fish, squid, and shrimp is 20%. There is 2 ways we give into food to the green sea turtle. First way, we chop and frozen food. Then second way is fresh food. You can see in the beginning of treatment, the turtle is still zero consumption, but next month to month is likely interest and increasing the appetite with the chopped frozen food. Until on the August, the green sea turtle is interested in eating the fresh food. So Next, we decreasing the giving of chopped frozen food until only we giving fresh food. The fluid therapy given started on April until September. On the October, the turtle show increasing on appetite and more active. So we stop fluid, then continue recording data such as body weight, measurement, and daily food consumption until December. On May 2021, in collaborate with Indonesia Ministry of Forestry, the green sea turtle released to the sea. On the day of release, body weight of turtle is 48 kilogram, curved carapace length is 73 centimeters, and curved carapace width is 67 centimeters. This is some picture or documentation of the sea turtle release on 23rd May 2021. So the conclusion is fluid therapy using combination of sodium chloride 0.45%, half strength ringers lactated and dextrose 5% in this green sea turtle with symptoms such as no appetite, lethargic, and slow swimming were significantly effective to improve hydration and health status. So thank you for your all attention and doing all we can to resolve the rat. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Bimantaka, for that presentation. And now we will proceed to the last talk for this morning. This is entitled Characterizing the Estrus Cycle of Malayan Sand Bear, Helarctos malayanus by Fecal Estrogen and Progesterone Analysis, to be presented by Mrs. Pechanyuan Punyatong from the Chiang Mai Zoo. Mrs. Punyatong, you can start.
Hello everyone, I'm Rachiniwan Panyathong from Chiang Mai Zoo, the Zoological Park Organization of Thailand. Today, I would like to talk about this. The research was characterizing the estrus cycle of Malayan sun bears by fecal estrogen and progesterone analysis. The sun bear rise in tropical rainforests. They are found in Asia, from the Himalayas to China, Myanmar, Indochina, Malayan Peninsula, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and on the island of Sumatra and Borneo. Sun bears are one of the four landless bears. The exact number arrived today is not known, but the population is steadily declining due to deforestation and hunting. It is classified as vulnerable by IUCN and listed under the CITES Appendix 1. In Thailand, it is protected species of the Wildlife Preservation and Protection Act. In captivity, they exhibit social behavior and sleep mostly during the day. Females reach sexual maturity around 3 years of age. Gestation period lasts about 95 days, but there is evidence of delayed implantation. Some sun bear pregnancy lasted 174 to 240 days. Currently, little is known about mating in sun bears. Sun bears do not seem to have a defined breeding season anywhere in their range, with cubs are apparently born throughout the year. From previous studies, found were polyester and seasonal esters. The difference are that polyester occur throughout the year. Seasonally, polyester occur during long day or short day only. And monoesters occur only one time at the year, such as the giant panda. The estrous cycle represents the classical pattern of overland activity that facilitate female animal growth to go from a period of reproductive receptivity to non-receptivity, ultimately allowing the establishment of pregnancy following mating. The cycle consists of 4 phases. The proestrus phase, the ovulatory follicle formation, and estradiol secretion. Estrus phase, increased estradiol level initiates estrus behavior. Estradiol reaches to peak and then ovulate. Mid-estrus phase, corpus luteum formation, and beginning of progesterone secretion. Diestrus phase, corpus luteum sustains secretion of progesterone. In the absence of fertilization, the corpus luteum retains some for some time and then slowly break down. Progesterone level drop, and the estrous cycle begins again. If fertilization is success, the corpus luteum retains for long term, produce and secretes progesterone until parturition. The measurement of fecal hormone metabolite assays as a non-invasive technique is widely used to monitor reproductive hormones in captive and free-ranking wild animals. By using the feces, extraction, and hormone analysis, the purpose of this study was conducted to characterize the estrus cycle of Malayan sun bass to support captive breeding management. The sun bear at Chiang Mai Zoo have one pair but separated. We moved the male in captivity together after the female detection first time of estrus. Fresh sun bear fecal samples were collected daily in the morning within the captive before go out to the exhibit area. One female 12 years old at Chiang Mai Zoo collected between November 2019 and 30 September 2020. And two female 13 and 10 years old at Khao Kiao Open Zoo collected between April and September 2020. The feces can be dried using hot air oven at 60 degrees Celsius with dye powder feces and alcohol fecal extraction by boiling. Measure estradiol and progesterone by competitive enzyme immunoassay. It is a measure of the level of metabolite hormones that are directly excreted using the specific binding principle between antibody and antigen. It is a method that can detect of hormone with high accuracy. The results, based on fecal estradiol and fecal progesterone, the 3 female sun bears show at least one estrus cycle throughout the years. The one female at Chiang Mai Zoo was analyzed by comparing estrus behavior and hormone level in 11 months. Show 3 cycles during December, April, and August, which correlated with estrus behavior. The two females at Kaukya Open Zoo were analyzed hormone level in 6 months, show high concentration of fecal estradiol during May and June. At the Chiang Mai Zoo, after the male moved to get the female, we found that the male sun bears whole mating behavior in late March until mid-April, but the female refused to copulate. Found peak estradiol on 27 April, which correlated with breeding behavior after peak, but this time is not successful. Found peak estradiol again on 30 August, and the female copulated after peak 3 days. This time successfully bred. This video shows natural mating behavior of the sun bear at Chiang Mai Zoo. The female at Chiang Mai Zoo copulated on the 3rd of September 2020, and a male cub was born on 9 December 2020. Gestation period 96 days. The video showed a mother rearing a male cub sun bear. Conclusion. Results indicate that sun bears are polyestrous, apparently estrous throughout the year. Interval was about 4 months or 129 days. Monitoring of fecal estradiol and progesterone concentration helped to identify ovulation time and pregnancy that useful for captive management. The female 12 years old was able to achieve the full-term pregnant and delivered live healthy cub. Finally, I would like to show the queue of baby sun bear with mom. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, that ends our presentations for this morning, but we are not yet finished since we will proceed now to the open forum. So, but first, let me congratulate every speakers for this morning. Very informative and wonderful presentation. I hope that many people are really well informed about the findings, new findings from from your respective institutions. So at this point, we will now proceed with the open forum. So let me check the questions. Okay, so this first question is addressed to Dr. Walemas. Is there any problem of zoo staff getting the virus working with animals or vice versa? Dr. Walemas, are you still there? Okay, so actually there's another question addressed to Dr. Walemas. There's already an answer actually. So let me read her answer. For it. Okay, so in domestic animals, I found many animals infected with COVID-19 without any illness, especially in wildlife such as deer. Deer, it can infect and shed the virus. What's this? Shed the virus to close contact with animals without any sign. So in her opinion, the number of COVID-19 cases in zoo wildlife report may be under the real number because of the potential to detect only when the animals show the illness signs. So if COVID-19 staff working with these animals don't show any signs, so perhaps it is possible let the virus it can let the virus circulate in the animal. So the possible worst situation will be as COVID-19 circulation in mink farm, for example, in Europe, that mutation of the virus occur and will become a mink variant. Then the mink variant in turn can infect animals, animal caretakers, and can also lead to mink depopulation in some farm in Europe. So that's her answer regarding the first question. I'm looking for another question here. Any questions? So I think let me check again. So please ask questions. So it's an opportunity for everyone to get to know more about the presentations this morning. Okay, so let me check. Okay, so this question is addressed to Dr. Eddie Sutuno. Would you suggest that we can also use goat milk for hand rearing for the giraffes as well, or is it best to use Holstein Friesian milk? So this is addressed to Dr. Eddie Sutuno. Dr. Sutuno? Are you here? Still here? Dr. Sutuno, are you still here? Okay. Maybe we can ask Dr. Sotono later if he will return to the conference room. Okay, so another question. This is a question addressed to Dr. Setyawan. My question is, what are some of the possible causes of postpartum for dolphins? Dr. Setyawan. Dr. Setyawan, are you here? Okay, please ask your question. I guess Dr. Setyawan is not around anymore. Okay, so another question. Okay, so this is addressed to Ms. Chiho Nakamura regarding the design of the enclosure for effective rearing of the otter. So what are your additional suggestions in order to really promote the natural behavior of this otter? So Ms. Nakamura, are you there?
Yes, I'm
Right.
here. Yeah.
Okay. Finally.
Finally, yeah.
Okay.
But could you please ask the question?
Okay, so my question is, aside from the designs that you have implemented for the enclosure for the otter, so what are your additional, maybe in the future, future improvement of this enclosure? What are your additional suggestions that could further improve the behavior of these otters?
So is it mean that the in the future?
Yes, so additional improvement for the enclosure.
I see. Yeah. So now we keep the species of fish, only 2 species. Yeah, but in natural environment, many species live with otter. So I would like to try to add the many species of fishes or other some species of the crabs or shrimp or many other species in the water, and more the environment in the in rivers environment. Yeah, and on the land area, we made the vegetable environment, but it is difficult to keep with otter because they are picked up the plants. Yeah, so I would like to consider about the make good method for the keep it the vegetable environment with otter.
Okay, thank you for that answer, Dr. Ms. Nakamura. So
Thank you.
we have another question. This is now addressed to Dr. Yanyong Wirawatakul. So were there challenges that you faced during the hypocalcemic stages of the fawn, such as emergency cases?
Well, when we see this emergency case, the fawn can unable to stand, and another emergency case, we will bring back to the animal hospital as soon as possible and give the intravenous directly as soon as possible and give the oxygen therapy for the animal. So if Another case, we do the same method that if they have the emergency case, if we can bring back the hospital, we will bring. But if a very, very large animal, we will treat in the zone, in the cage, and give the intravenous and oxygen therapy with the CPR in every case.
Okay. Thank you for that answer, Dr. Werawatakun. So we have another question here. This one is addressed to Miss Dr. Tupas. Okay, so aside from sheep, other possible animals that can be used as a source of rumen for transfaunation for the Bactrian camel. Dr. Tupas?
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
Other sources for the rumen fluid can be also other ruminants like goats and cattle, as long as they take the precautionary measures or preventive measures to make sure that the animal to be slaughtered is healthy.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tupas. Okay, so next we'll have another question here. So this is addressed to Dr. Atienza. Okay. So in Negros, what are the major threats for the conservation as well as for the survival of these hornbill, the rufous-headed hornbill?
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the question. What are the threats for this specific hornbill? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, as I said on the my presentation, it is mostly because of like deforestation and illegal logging because of loss of habitat. It's still rampant, as well as the poaching and the illegal trade of animals. This is one of the battles that we are facing here in the island.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Atienza. Okay, so the next question is addressed to Dr. Bimantaka. So aside from the green sea turtle, Chelonia midas, is this fluid therapy applicable to other species of marine turtles as well?
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, about the question, by the experience, the fluid therapy also can be applied to other species of the sea turtle. Just worry about the stress possibility, but the fluid therapy can be used to other species.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you.
Next question for Ms. Punyatong. What are the challenges actually in determination of the estrus cycle of the Malayan bears in the zoo that you are working?
Could you please repeat the question?
What are the challenges that you've encountered in the characterizing the estrus cycle of Malayan bear in Chiang Mai Zoo?
Can I translate in Thai? น้องเก่งคะอะไรที่มันเป็นความท้าทายในการตรวจสอบ SEAZA cycle ใน Malayan Sun Bear คะ seemed like she absent. But I worked with her before, and maybe I can answer instead of her. The challenges of characterize the astrocycle in Melanson bear is the first one. How can we collect the good sample? We have to work collaboratively with the keeper, and that is a critical important one, that we can collect the good sample and then we can analyze and make the accurate result. And the next one is the technique that we use. Our team in Chiang Mai, so we experience about this kind of analysis in giant panda before, and then we adapt this technique to other bears, and our team quite keen with this technique. And the second and the third one is the analyze of the result. If we get only few sample, we cannot give the good result. We should to collect the sample frequently, so we can do the baseline and also see the range of the hormone. And she did so many months for the sample collection, so she can get the good results and make the average of the hormone concentration. I think that's all. I'm not sure that she is now or not. เก่งมีอะไรจะเพิ่มไหมคะ
ในส่วนของความท้าทายในการที่เราได้ตรวจตรงนี้ก็คือว่าที่ผ่านมามันก็จะมีการตรวจแต่ว่าอย่างการเก็บตัวอย่างได้ต่อเนื่องนี่มันยากสำหรับการทำในสัตว์ป่าค่ะแต่นี่เราสามารถเก็บตัวอย่างได้ทุกวันเนี่ยค่ะสามารถที่จะเห็นโปรไฟล์ได้ลองเทอมอะค่ะตลอดปี
All right, thank you. So she replied the same thing, that she have to get the good sample and work well with the keeper who can collect the fecal sample for her.
Okay, thank you for that answer. So I guess let me check if there are additional questions here. Okay, so for Sharia Garcia, so I think this is a comment. So thanks for asking before. In our experience, I think this one for the previous question on the milk that will be used. So things in our experience, we are just using fresh milk from of Frisian Holstein. We use that because there are some literatures that suggest that using that milk. So if you want it, so she can share the email. So that's from Mr. Eddie. Okay, so I guess that ends the open forum right now. So would like to again thank all the speakers for their presentation as well as giving their answers for the different questions posted. So that concludes the scientific session 7 of the 2021 SEAZA virtual conference. So again, the 29th SEAZA conference is hosted by the Philippine Zoos and Aquarium Association in partnership with the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity and the University of the Philippines Los Baños Natural History. We would like to thank again our sponsors, 101 Zoo of Israel, Ascoba of the United Kingdom, and Marine and Lands Associates Limited of Hong Kong. And again, this is Ryan. It is a great pleasure for me to be your host for this morning session. I learned a lot. Maraming salamat and mabuhay. Now I turn to you to Daniel. Daniel, are you there?
Sir Ryan, thank you. Thank you. One moment, please. All right. Right. So good afternoon, everyone. It is 12:15. We are 30 minutes early. We ended the session 30 minutes early. I am so happy that we had all of our speakers here, and everyone had such fascinating presentations for today's session. And this has been the last scientific session of the SEAZA conference. So before anything else, I would like to remind everyone that this afternoon at 2 o'clock Philippine time, 2 p.m. Philippine time, we will have the SEAZA annual general meeting, which will be exclusive to representatives of SEAZA member institutions, the corporate members, the affiliate members, and the individual members. We will the general meeting will be presided over by the SEAZA Executive Board and the Honorary Board, led by our President, Dr. Cheng Wenhao. Throughout the conference, we have been thanking our co-hosts and our sponsors, and we've been able to communicate with some of our sponsors, especially 101 Zoos and the Hascoba, who have delivered their lectures in the previous days of the conference. But now let's go to our partners, our co-hosts. First, we have the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, led by its executive director, Dr. Teresa Mondita Lim, whom we've met during the first day of the conference. They sent over some content which we would be watching now. One moment, please.
First envisioned in 1978 as a group of national parks and nature reserves with outstanding wilderness and biodiversity values, the ASEAN Heritage Parks, or the AHP program, was established to highlight the importance of a select group of protected areas in regional and global efforts in biodiversity conservation. The AHPs were created through the ASEAN Declaration on Heritage Parks and Reserves in 1984, which named the first 11 protected areas listed under the AHP program. A new declaration on ASEAN Heritage Parks was issued in 2003, which recognized additional AHPs. ASEAN Heritage Parks are protected areas of high conservation importance, preserving a complete spectrum of representative ecosystems in the ASEAN region. These areas are established to generate greater awareness, pride, appreciation, enjoyment, and conservation of ASEAN's rich natural heritage through a regional network of representative protected areas, and to generate greater collaboration among ASEAN member states in preserving their shared natural heritage.
Can you imagine how proud the visitors of Singaporeans are when they come and learn that Sungai Buloh is a member of the ASEAN Heritage Park?
For a protected area to be an AHP, it has to meet a number of selection criteria which include ecological completeness, representativeness, naturalness, high conservation importance, legally gazetted conservation area, has an approved management plan, transboundary uniqueness, high ethnobiological significance, and importance for endangered or precious biodiversity.
Mountain Bigitan has been included in the network of ASEAN Heritage Parks of the ASEAN region, and it means that it's already part of the best protected areas in the ASEAN. To become an ASEAN Heritage Park, it has a lot also of benefits, while at the same time it has challenges to carry out in order to maintain the outstanding values.
The ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, or ACB, currently serves as the secretariat of the AHP program and the AHP committee, with representatives from the 10 AMS as members. The ASEAN Heritage Parks are the best of the best protected areas in the region, not only for its biodiversity richness, but also for the effective management of these areas as a result of cooperation and coordination among its stakeholders.
ရက်ရွာအနေနဲ့ကျတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကခုမှဘယ်လိုခေါ်မလဲဆိုတော့အချိန်ယူဆဲကာလလို့ပဲပြောရမှာပေါ့နော်ရက်ရွာကဒီပေါ်မှာတော့သူတို့နားလဲတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ထဲထဲဝင်ပူပေါင်းဖို့ကျတော့သူတို့မဖြစ်သေးဘူးပေါ့နော်သိပြီးတော့လိုက်ပြီးမချိန်နိုင်သေးဘူးမချိန်နိုင်သေးဘူးဆိုတာတိတော့တိနေပြီတိနေပေမဲ့ဒါကိုသူတို့ကပြန်ပြီးတော့တန်းတနေတော့မရှိသေးတယ်
The existence of AHPs gives us hope that by working together, we can ensure that our natural treasures will be sustained for the generations to come.
We are citizens of the earth.
And ASEAN is our home.
It is rich with natural heritage.
The mountains.
The farmlands.
The cities.
The rivers.
The wetland.
Nature provides for us all.
Air.
Nourishment.
Shelter and protection.
Jobs and livelihood. And the medicine to prevent diseases. But humankind has taken more than nature can provide.
What was convenient for us has become harmful for all life on Earth. We have caused a crisis that is slowly destroying nature.
Affecting us all.
It is time to set things right.
we can still mend our broken relationship with nature.
And with each other.
Plant native trees, regrow our forests,
Maintain the natural fertility of our soils.
stop destructive fishing practices,
Keep our waters free from litter.
Harness the power of clean energy.
Become responsible tourists.
Respect local culture.
design greener cities, foster sustainable communities.
Saving biodiversity means saving lives.
To secure our future, we must nurture nature.
For our only home.
Why wait for the next crisis to happen? It's time to act now.
For ASEAN.
For biodiversity.
For nature.
Ako ay bahagi ng solusyon.
เราคือส่วนหนึ่งของการแก้ปัญหา
Tôi là một phần của giải pháp.
I am the part of the solution.
I am 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 part of the solution.
We
are part of the solution.
Are you?
That has been the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity. So to our partners from ACB, terima kasih, Kopkun Kap, Kamon, Sisye, maraming salamat po. And we look forward to having you again next year. Next, we have the Museum of Natural History, University of the Philippines, Los Baños. All of our hosts from the past few days, well, except for myself, but all of our hosts from the past few days have been curators from the Museum of Natural History, including our host for the afternoon session of the first day, their director, Dr. Marian P. De Leon. So maraming salamat po sa UPMNH. And here are some content from the Museum of Natural History.
Welcome to the Museum of Natural History. Located at the upper campus of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, the museum is a popular educational and ecotourism destination in Los Baños and Laguna. It caters each year to thousands of elementary, high school and college students, researchers, foreign tourists, as well as the general public. It has different dioramas and displays which highlight and showcase the richness of Philippine biodiversity. Some of the special displays and features include marine shells, coral ecosystems, and deep water life, cave life, and the biodiversity of different terrestrial and forest ecosystems. Geological displays such as rocks, minerals, and fossils. A live collection of endemic epiphytes such as hoyas and ferns. Insects such as walking sticks, leaf insects, crickets, and beetles. And endemic frogs from Mount Makiling being kept in a terrarium. There are also displays of amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, fungi, bamboo, arthropods, fetuses, and many more. But unknown to many, the UPLB Museum of Natural History is more than a heritage building with exhibit areas. Much like a library, the MNH is a center of documentation as well as a repository of biological specimens for scientific reference. The museum holds an unprecedented number of specimens and is considered as one of the largest in the country. In fact, it manages and operates 7 noteworthy and world-renowned collections, namely the Botanical Herbarium, the second largest collection in the Philippines, has around 70,000 specimens including flowering plants, ferns and allies, mosses, liverworts, and macroalgae. The Entomological Museum, the country's biggest, has around 120,000 pinned insect specimens, more than 5,000 slide-mounted specimens, and more than 75,000 slides of mites. The Forestry Herbarium and Wood Collection has in its care roughly 12,000 specimens of forest and palm species. It has in its collection more than 1,100 species, including around 500 of yet undetermined new specimens. Located under the narrow bridge between the Marulas and Malawin Creeks, the Hortorium is an in-situ collection of around 400 trees and plants and serves as a learning laboratory of several university courses. The Microbial Culture Collection maintains nearly 600 strains of bacteria, yeasts, molds, microfungi, and microalgae. It is the first Philippine collection registered in the World Federation for Culture Collection. The Mycological Herbarium has 11,000 specimens of ascomycetes, basidiomycetes, and myxomycetes. It is by far the biggest collection of fungi in the country. The Zoological and Wildlife Museum, globally known as the Boer Wildlife Collection, has more than 17,000 taxidermied and spirit-preserved specimens. Most of the specimens were collected by the father of Philippine wildlife conservation, Dr. Dioscoro S. Rabor. The Museum of Natural History is also a center of research, and as such, a center of information on the basic aspects of biology. With the help of its curators, researchers, and museum technicians, the museum is able to conduct collection expeditions, field surveys, ecological observations, impact assessments, and of course, basic studies on taxonomy and systematics. Two of its most important research programs are the Cave Biodiversity Research Program and the Island Biodiversity Research Program. In the past 5 years, the museum has discovered more than 100 new species through rigorous taxonomic and systematics work. Our curators and staff are publishing numerous peer-reviewed scientific articles that detail the discovery of new species and records of flora, fauna, and microbes. The expertise and experience of our curators and staff on Philippine biodiversity is not only sought by local scientists. We are actively working with foreign researchers from various institutions around the globe. And to ensure that we are able to contribute to the body of knowledge, the museum produces various publications aimed to promote the diversity and conservation of fauna and flora in the Philippines. To help conserve and protect Philippine biodiversity, the museum also serves as a center of education on the preservation of natural heritage. We complement our integrated biodiversity exhibits with mobile natural history exhibits that are brought to areas outside the university. We conduct short courses for students from different schools and universities where we teach them how to do biodiversity field surveys using different assessment techniques. Through our biodiversity seminar series, experts and scientists deliver lectures on various research activities or discuss on identified environmental problems and their solutions. The museum also assists various agencies in setting policies and priorities for countrywide and local biodiversity and conservation research and action projects. We render special services for students and researchers, including biological specimen identification and verification of scientific names appearing in theses and dissertations. Moreover, we can also provide microbial cultures for use in research and application in industries. More importantly, the museum is a facility for training future naturalists. We help mold students going into biodiversity conservation work through the MNH Thesis Advisory Program, Internship Program, and Volunteer Program. The museum's activities are essentially linked to man's quest for knowledge and understanding of his relationship with the environment. Through research, public service, and teaching, MNH curators and staff heed to the museum's battle cry. To bring people closer to nature, and nature closer to the people, is our commitment. The Museum of Natural History is a testament to the university's noble aim of helping preserve and conserve the country's rich natural historical heritage for the next generations to come.
Okay, now we move on to the launching of the virtual tour of the UPLB Museum of Natural History. This virtual tour will let us visit the MNH building and exhibits from the comforts of our homes, offices, and wherever we are. Let us watch a short video of the presentation.
Hello everyone. Here is a quick guide on using our virtual tour. Just go to our website, mnh.uplb.edu.ph, using your internet browser. Use the website's navigation menu, and browse for and click the link to the tour. The virtual tour can be played on desktops, laptops, and even modern smartphones. After the tour has loaded, you can look around using your mouse or fingertips. To change your view, click on one of the three options on the lower left hand of the screen. Double-click on your mouse or tap on your mobile screen to move towards the direction. Click on the play button to view the embedded multimedia. Click on the door link to preview the next section, then click on the text link to enter. You can turn on or off the immersive music using this icon on the lower right hand of the screen. You can hover on, or tap, the icon to reveal short information on the object or exhibit. Some icons reveal photo attachments of objects or galleries. On desktops, you can click on the photo to view larger versions for closer viewing. Click or tap on the play icon near the TV screens to show the video. Also, by clicking on the Auto Tour icon at the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you can play a 3-minute narration. It's simple as that. Happy touring, everyone. Follow us on social media for upcoming projects.
Whoa, okay. For those of you who have missed coming to the museum, it is one way for us to visit the museum again, okay? It's now more than ever, I really miss going back to the museum and touring the different exhibits that we have there. You can view the whole tour through the link posted on screen. And you can also visit the MNH website and click on the VR tour of the Museum of Natural History. We'd like also to acknowledge Mr. Florante Cruz, UPLB Museum of Natural History Extension Associate, for making the virtual tour. Okay?
Thank you very much, the UPLB Museum of Natural History. In 2017, for those who were able to come to the Philippines during the SEAZA conference in 2017, you may remember that part of the activities was a tour of the UPLB Museum of Natural History, but because of the pandemic, we're now unable to go to the museum. We're now unable to go abroad, for that matter. But we hope that eventually, when we all get to go out, then we will be able to visit our museums, visit our zoos, and eventually, when the next SEAZA conference rolls around, hopefully we can do it in person. In some personal anecdotes, in 2018 was Chiang Mai. Haven't been to Chiang Mai then, and it was a really nice place. And the one thing I really miss about the physical conferences is the possibility of exploring the local community. So I hope that in 2017, when many of you came here, you were able to tour some of the tourist spots, at least around Manila. Part of the activity then was a tour of Intramuros, or the walled city, which was built by the Spaniards when they were here in the Philippines prior to the 20th century. Even now Intramuros stands as a significant tourist spot and a historical site. Just to get us excited to go out again when this pandemic ends, we have asked for some content from the Tourism Promotions Board under the Department of Tourism. So they sent over some content which we will be viewing now. So I hope that eventually, when we are all able to go out and somehow SEAZA rolls around and it's held here in the Philippines, we hope that apart from the conference, you will also choose to go around the country. So one moment, please. Okay, so I believe we are ready to play this. Can everyone? Oh, wait. Oh, not yet. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen for a bit, and then, okay.
We are delighted to open our doors once again to welcome you and host your event. We are excited to see you coming together from across the world. Together, we are weaving a better future. The Philippines is ready to deliver a momentous event, providing the most conducive, safe, and ambient spaces to hold your meeting and conference activities. Combining first-class amenities and flavors with state-of-the-art technology. Your safety is our priority. Global standards in health and hygiene are in place in all facilities. Guest protocols such as temperature checks, hand sanitizers, and physical distancing markers are being implemented at all times. As an awardee of the Safe Travel Stamp, the Philippines is committed to make this a worry-free and pleasant experience for all. Together, we enjoin the world to make tourism alive and thriving once again. Feel the warmth of Filipino hospitality. Mabuhay and see you soon!
Of course, we hope that when you come to the Philippines, you won't have to wear face masks anymore. But I guess a new normal dictates that we will have to do this. But anyway, to somehow remind people of what we can see at least in Manila, here is a video again from the Tourism Promotions Board about Fort Santiago.
Located just a few meters away from the Manila Cathedral and Palacio del Gobernador, Fort Santiago is one of the most significant historical sites in Manila. Join me in discovering Fort Santiago, a 400-year-old site that has stood as a witness to major milestones in Philippine history. We begin at Plaza Moriones, this open, expansive space that greets visitors upon entry at the fort. Here are numerous structures, including the Baluartillo de San Francisco Javier. It served as one of the walled city's seafront defenses and storage chambers in the Spanish colonial era. During the Second World War, it was turned into a prison cell by the Japanese military. Today, it houses the Intramuros Visitor Center and several shops. This is a reducto, an independent structure outside the walls that serves as the first line of defense. It also functioned as a storage for ammunition and food supply. Today, it houses the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe. We return to Plaza Moriones, one of the many plazas or open spaces in Intramuros. Named after the Spanish Governor General Domingo Moriones, it was once an open ground for military drills, parades, and ceremonies until its destruction in the 1863 earthquake. The U.S. Army then took over and used it as a barracks. Now, it's an open space where events and activities in Intramuros are held. Across the plaza is the Almacenes Reales, or Royal Warehouses. This was a storehouse for goods unloaded by ships at the river gate during the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. The unreinforced stone arches, which originally supported the second floor, remain intact, a testament to the durability and timelessness of traditional architecture. Then, in this area remains the soldiers' barracks. During the Japanese occupation, former Philippine President Elpidio Quirino was imprisoned here for 16 days. This space is also used as an exhibit area by the Intramuros administration. This brass plaque contains a roll of honor and the list of survivors of Filipinos incarcerated inside Fort Santiago during World War II. This man-made canal was restored in the 1980s and connects the Pasig River to Manila Bay. The fort's entrance is guarded by two ramparts. the Baluarte de San Miguel on the left, and the Medio Baluarte de San Francisco on the right. These ramparts were built in the 1600s to fortify the defenses of Fort Santiago from the river and the land. Here stands the main gate to Fort Santiago. The main gate is decorated by a wood relief carving of Spain's patron saint, Santiago Matamoros, as well as the coat of arms of the former kingdoms of Castile and Leon. Castile is represented by the castle, while the lion represents the kingdom of Leon. This was a former military headquarters of 4 successive colonial empires in the Far East. The pre-colonial history of Manila can also be traced in this section of Intramuros where the kingdom of Raja Sulaiman was once located. At the center of the fort proper is Plaza de Armas. It derived its name from the use of the area to stock arms and rifles when not in use. Similar to Plaza Moriones, this was also where the soldiers marched around for their daily drills. This was a 2-story adobe building which housed the Spanish artillery companies. Destroyed during the Battle of Manila, this was renovated into an open-air theater for the use of the Philippine Educational Theater Association, or PETA. The main room of the soldiers' school was converted into a chapel cell for Jose Rizal, who was transferred here after 56 days of imprisonment at the soldiers' barracks. According to the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, it was here where Jose Rizal married Josephine Bracken. This passageway, the Postigo de la Nuestra Señora de Soledad, was the main access of Fort Santiago's occupants to the Pasig River. The promenade was rehabilitated by the Intramuros administration and is now a riverside park. Here stands the Rizal Shrine. This place was the former soldiers' barracks, which had a pantry and food storage before it was used as a cell for Jose Rizal. Today, Rizal Shrine, or Museo ni Jose Rizal, pays tribute to the life work of the country's national hero through its theme settings and relics. Now we enter the dungeons. These used to be gunpowder magazines before being converted into prison cells. After the Battle of Manila in 1945, 600 decomposing bodies of prisoners were found here. The remains were subsequently buried en masse on an open ground nearby and is marked with a white marble cross. This site used to be the Casa de Castellano, the residence of the fort commander. This was built in the 16th century to protect the entrance from the Pasig River. The ground floor of the Baluarte de Santa Barbara has recently been converted to an educational facility known as the I Make History Lego Education Center. Falsa Braga means false wall. This deceived the enemy and protected the fort from heavy bombardment. From a military site that bore witness to Manila's multi-layered and at times tumultuous past, Fort Santiago is today a national shrine that welcomes visitors to learn and relive our people's journey onto becoming this nation called the Philippines.
We have one last video which we will show you, which is another part of the entire Intramuros. It's called Baluarte de San Diego. So for now, we're gonna have to settle for the virtual tours, but eventually, we hope to be able to go to these places in person. So one last thing before we go to the closing ceremonies.
Before it became an alfresco garden and the landmark that it is today, Baluarte de San Diego was here to protect Manila at its bayside. Come and let's discover one of the most treasured attractions here in the walled city, Intramuros. In 1586 to 1587, a circular watchtower was built with adobe. The tower was designed by a Jesuit priest named Antonio Cedeño and named Fort Nuestra Señora de Guia. This fort is one of the oldest stone fortifications here in Intramuros. Because the foundation was built on a sandy beach, it became unstable and the tower was refortified several times. The upper portion of the tower was demolished in 1593, while the rest of the structure was integrated into a new spade-shaped bulwark. The rest of the structure was completed between 1653 and 1663 and is now known as the Baluarte de San Diego. The durability of the fortification was tested in 1762 when Manila was invaded by Great Britain during the 7 Years' War. The Baluarte was damaged and breached by the British forces with cannon fire. It was only restored when the Spaniards returned to power after 2 years of British occupation. But it was destroyed again and eventually abandoned after the earthquake of 1863. Rehabilitating what remained of the original tower within the Baluarte after centuries of damage proved costly. So, during the American colonial rule, they covered it with earth. This proved to be beneficial as the earth shielded the structure from destruction in World War II. While the whole Intramuros, including Baluarte de San Diego, was heavily damaged, the tower within it remained preserved. Because of this, the tower remained forgotten for several years. Until 1979, when the Intramuros administration excavated and exposed it after being hidden for decades. In 1992, gardens were added and it became a public park and events place rented out to celebrate special occasions and private functions. The 16th century stone ruins provide a unique backdrop, while the fountain and the pergola complete the perfect setting. This is an ideal spot to enjoy quiet time, especially in the early morning or late afternoon. The grassy portion below is the driving range of the 18-hole Club Intramuros golf course. It was actually a moat before and it was covered into a sunken garden and later repurposed as a golf course during the American colonial period. Club Intramuros is one of the oldest golf courses here in the Philippines and now operated by the Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority or SEAZA. The Baluarte used to have an overlooking view of Manila Bay, and it served as a natural defense of the walled city. Not far from the Baluarte de San Diego is the Bagumbayan Light and Sound Museum. It narrates the history of the Philippines through the heroism of Dr. Jose Rizal. It is narrated with video clips, lights and sound effects, and moving mannequins. This public park Event Space, an archaeological site, is located south of Intramuros and has survived natural and man-made adversities. What you saw is just a glimpse of Baluarte de San Diego and of Intramuros. Come, visit us and experience the beauty of this historic fort through its ruins.
So, thank you very much to the Chief Operating Officer of the Tourism Promotions Board, Attorney Marie Antoinette Velasco Aliones, and the Secretary of the Department of Tourism, Honorable Bernadette Romulo Puyat, for providing us with these materials. Now, we have come to the end of the SEAZA conference. So we have our closing ceremonies. First, we have a message from the Director of the Biodiversity Management Bureau of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Let us welcome the Honorable Datu Tungko Saikol.
Good afternoon, everyone. As with all other convergence of great minds, this event must come to a close. At this juncture, allow me to thank you all for making this conference a success. My warmest appreciation to the participants for actively listening during the presentations, to the resource persons for sharing their invaluable knowledge and insights, and lastly, to the hosts and organizers, the Southeast Asian Zoos and Aquariums Association and its Philippine counterpart, PhilZoos, for making all this possible. In the past 4 days, we have been immersed in a series of stimulating lectures and engaging discussions that highlight the importance of our zoological institutions. For the common public, our zoos are best known for their recreational and educational value. Many of us share fond memories of our first visit to a local zoo during our childhood years, perhaps with our family or maybe with our classmates during a school trip. But beyond this, the crucial role of zoological institutions in generating new knowledge and in conserving wildlife should not be overlooked. Undeniably, our zoos provide the ideal condition for studying various aspects of wildlife, its behavior, nutrition, physiology, and development. Such information may be easily gathered within the enclosures of a zoo and can augment data generated from actual field studies. At the same time, our zoos are the perfect model for ex situ conservation, serving as refuge for wildlife, especially for those animals which are impossible to be released back into the wild or those on the brink of extinction. The Philippine government, through the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, is very fortunate to have local and foreign zoological institutions as its conservation partners. For many years now, the Wildlife Loan Agreement has been instrumental in giving partners institutions temporary custody of certain wildlife species. By doing so, the DNR ensures the welfare of the wildlife, foster collaboration on captive wildlife research, and promotes further appreciation of the country's threatened and endemic fauna. Notable among the wildlife loaned by the DNR to foreign institutions were a pair of endemic Philippine crocodile and a pair of our majestic Philippine eagle, the country's national bird. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the recurring lockdowns and tight quarantine restrictions, the operations and revenue of zoological parks were negatively affected. However, the remarkable resilience of our zoos and their continued commitment to look after the welfare of captive animals under their care is indeed very inspiring. As humanity transitions and the world prepares for recovery from this pandemic, I am optimistic that our zoos can effectively cope with the challenges ahead and fulfill its role as a pillar institution for wildlife conservation, research, education, and recreation. Let us continue with our noble pursuit to strengthen our wildlife policies, educate the public, build the capability of our zoos administrators, and continuously innovate to enhance our existing knowledge, practices, and techniques in captive wildlife management. For ultimately, it is the survival and welfare of these creatures which are at stake. As I conclude the message, I am reminded of a quote by the great Mahatma Gandhi, an inspirational figure who strongly advocated for nonviolence and animal welfare. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. It is my fervent aspiration for our zoological institutions to continue serving as beacons of hope for our captive wildlife and to continue thriving with the wildlife that they nurture. Again, thank you and pleasant day to everyone.
Thank you very much, Director Saikol of the Biodiversity Management Bureau of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Up next, we have a message, his closing remarks from the conference chair, SEAZA Treasurer, PhilZoo's President and Director of Avilon Wildlife Conservation Foundation, and School of Practical Veterinary Management Incorporated. Please welcome Mr. Yoklin Jake Gao.
Once more, we have concluded a fruitful and successful SEAZA conference. Allow me to thank the following for making this possible. The SEAZA board, led by our president, Dr. Cheng Wenghar, for granting PhilZoos the privilege of hosting this year's virtual conference. Our co-hosts, the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, with its Executive Director, Dr. Teresa Mundita Lim, and the Museum of Natural History, University of the Philippines, Los Baños, led by its Director, Dr. Marian De Leon. Our sponsors, 101 Zoos of Israel, Haskoba of the United Kingdom, and the Marine and Land Associates Limited of Hong Kong. Our conference director, Mr. Daniel Albert Castillo, the conference working committees, Secretariat chaired by Ms. Paula Dehesa, Communications Committee chaired by Mr. Noel Rafael, Scientific Committee chaired by Dr. Lester Lopez, and all the technical support team. I look forward to seeing you all again in our next conference in 2022. Maraming salamat po.
Last but not least, we have the message from SEAZA President, Deputy CEO of Life Sciences and Operations, and Chief Life Sciences Officer of Manday Wildlife Group, and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Species 360. Let us all welcome Dr. Cheng Wenhar.
Thank you, Daniel. It's quite amazing, isn't it? I can't believe that we are at the end of the SEAZA Conference 2021 already. I think we've really had a very good conference this year, despite all the challenges. And we started out the day with quite a few very inspiring speeches from very distinguished speakers. We certainly have the new WAZA President, Dr. Clement Rontier, being with us. And the CEO of CPSG, Dr. Oni Bias, and of course the Executive Director of the ASEAN Biodiversity Center, Dr. Mundita Ling, being with us as well. So even though the overseas speakers, they sent us pre-recorded messages, but all of them were actually here with us in person. So being able to interact with us and answering our questions live. So we're very, very appreciative of that. It's really good to get the conference going, good to set the tone, and we get very important messages from these key speakers. So after that, we've in the last few days, we've just been getting really, really good quality presentations from our own colleagues, from all our institutional members, and it's really very encouraging that we started seeing the trend a few years ago that the quality of the papers, of the work that we're doing continue to improve, and it's really great to see that despite the challenges that started last year, the COVID-19, 2020 and 2021, things were getting better in 2021. Many of the countries now, many significant population have been vaccinated, but of course in Southeast Asia, many of us are aware that the challenges are by no means over. So it is very encouraging to see that despite all the challenges, all the great work are still continuing to be done, to be carried out by our member institutions. Very, very encouraging, and good to see that we're continuing to care for our animals well. The national associations continuing to greatly support their member institutions. Some of those obviously facing a lot of financial operational challenges. So all the more inspiring and encouraging that continue to see great works being done there. So really good to be able to see that. In fact, some of the, just want to comment also the quality of the speakers that we have this year as well, and I would like to congratulate the organizing committee, the scientific committee, in being able to get the type of international speakers to join us. So I have not been able to attend all the sessions, and I was a bit regretful with that, but good thing that now with the technology that all the sessions have been recorded. They're now available on YouTube. So I think that's really good. In fact, I've been able to catch up on some of those recordings as well. So over the next few days, I will do more of that, and I'll encourage everyone to do that as well. So that was at least one of the advantage of, we can't see each other face to face. However, with this virtual meeting, many of us can actually catch up on whatever we have needs. So, and just want to say that one of the speakers that I managed to catch up on is actually Mr. John Goh. Obviously, he was sharing about, the insights of zoo design and all that, and being one of the original zoo design guru. And I did catch his comment about that, he was so impressed with the type of presentations that our colleague members are doing, that, we should really, be going out there, we can hold our head up high, that, we're among, just equal to the works that are being done in Europe, in Australasia, and in North America as well. So that was really, really good to hear that, someone from outside our region, someone who is so well respected, giving us that information as well. So very, very encouraging. So what I will do then is just to thank a few of the organizers, certainly our host, Phil Zhu, Jake Yoklin, our fellow member in the SEAZA board, and the co-host, the ASEAN Center of Biodiversity and the museum. And last but not least, all of you for attending. And one thing about SEAZA conference is always had a lot of support, not only from our own members, but also from participants from all over the world, from all over the globe. So I trust that all of you have enjoyed it as much as I have, and you've also found it has been very, you picked up something useful for you as well. And once again, congratulations and thank to the Daniel for holding another second one of our virtual conference so successfully. Now I think he's getting to be a professional now in organizing and running the virtual conference. So I think with that, I think I'll come to the end of SEAZA conference 2021, our 29th conference. So as with all things SEAZA, we cannot start or end something without our traditional SEAZA cheers. So here we go, that demonstration, right? Okay, SEAZA, SEAZA, SEAZA. Okay, all right. So here's a real one now. Okay, let's coordinate. Okay, SEAZA, SEAZA, SEAZA. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. Back over to you, Daniel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cheng. So this ends the 29th Annual and Second Virtual Conference of the Southeast Asian Zoos and Aquariums Association. The conference is hosted by the Philippine Zoos and Aquariums Association and in partnership with the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity and the UPLB Museum of Natural History. We thank our sponsors, 101 Zoos of Israel, ASCOBA of the United Kingdom, and Marine and Land Associates of Hong Kong. Some reminders, at 2 p.m., we will resume with the SEAZA Annual General Meeting. That will be exclusive to SEAZA members, including the Executive Board, the Honorary Board, National Zoo Association representatives, institutional members, affiliate members, corporate members, individual members. So please be back at 2 p.m. So again, thank you very much for attending the SEAZA conference this year, and we hope that next year will be better for us. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat,
Daniel.
Thank
you,
everyone.
Daniel. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We'll see you at 2 o'clock, members. Okay.
Congratulations to everyone.
Marian, thank you po. UPLB, thank you. ACB, thank you as well. See you po ng 2 o'clock. To all the members of SEAZA who are here, please come back at 2 o'clock. Use the same link po. Thank you.
Thank you.